Each month, Joe goes over the rules we created.
All right. Everybody, welcome to GoIndieNow. The first rule of GoIndieNow is tell everyone you know about GoIndieNow. The second rule of GoIndieNow is tell everyone you know about GoIndieNow. The third rule is if you see something that you really enjoy, you hear something that you piques your interest, that captures your attention, or you meet someone through our shows that you want to know more about. The links are always there on the description box of whatever video you're watching, be it Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. They are there. Go seek those people out. The fourth rule of GoIndieNow is tell 2, 5, 10, as many people as you can about GoIndieNow. The fifth rule of GoIndieNow is I don't care how you watch the show. No shirts, no shoes, no pants. However you feel most comfortable watching GoIndieNow. The sixth rule is if you like what you see on GoIndieNow, comment, like, subscribe. We expect to hear from you. So do comment, like, and subscribe. The seventh rule of GoIndieNow, enjoy the show. This show is for you. And you are here watching the show. Tell everyone you know that you watched the show. Tell them a week after the fact, a month after the fact. Tell people about GoIndieNow. Because the eighth and final rule of GoIndieNow, if this is your first time watching GoIndieNow, don't worry. It's really simple. Keep watching and tell everyone you know, because it's always time to go indie now. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our flagship show, Time to Go Indie Now. I am your host for this show, Joe Compton. Yes, I am back. And I can't thank the ladies enough who did last episode's show. It was an awesome show, and thank you so much for being a part of our show. We hope to have you all on our show more often, and I hope to do interesting and unique shows like that in the future. As artists, we don't always end up where we began. Case in point to our interview segments, our featured interviews in this episode, like Across the Board, an indie band from Canada who started their careers by being on YouTube and just messing about on YouTube with, getting some musicians together. They put some neat little weekly and daily segments together on YouTube. They have a lot of videos on YouTube. You should definitely check that out when you get a chance. But they were able to parlay and turn that into a full-time musician gig, which is awesome. Then you have indies like Robert CANO, who has an amazing palette for indie art. He really knows a lot about culture and has a fandom that he wears on his sleeve proudly. And he took that idea and eased himself into the publishing world, and he's come kicking the door down, and we're excited to feature him and show you all about what he's doing and what he's about to give you all. I mean, it's an amazing thing for sure. And then we have another indie author who found her footing and kind of is now walking her path and doing so brazenly and just being awesome. And that's Jessica MCHUGH, who was such a great interview. It was a lot of fun. So we have those for you in this episode, along with we have 2 new segments, as we have a brand new audiobook reviewer in CHANDRA TRULOVE Fry, and we hope that she stays around and does some more for us. She did an awesome audiobook review here in this episode. We also have a brand new segment from the one and only KRISTINA RIENZI, who is a life coach and an author herself. She's got some great tips for introverts out there, so definitely check it out. CL Cannon is back with another marketing tip. JD Estrada has an awesome indie musician to feature, and Jin Okubo has an awesome indie filmmaker and movie to feature as well. And we have, of course, new releases, which has some pretty heavy hitters in our indie community doing some amazing reads. I hope that you really, really enjoy that. And we have an awesome short film as well. So why am I yapping? Let's get to all the fun. All right, everybody. I'll be back at the end of the show. Thanks.
Andy's playing a Cajun. Show them the Cajun. It's like this thing. It's a box, and it has a bass drum in it.
That's cool.
A cajon.
Cajon. Not afraid to try, not afraid to sing in the sky. Put your head close to mine, feel the temperature rise. Don't you try? Nothing's gonna stand in my way. Take the sun from my day, try to rain on my parade. Ooh, ooh. You got me feeling like I'm just another rocket falling from the sky. I just wanna tell you I'm already soaring high. Take me by the hand, feel my heart race as you hit my sonic boom. Never let you down, just as long as you stay true. And we're about, 'cause I'll be there for you. It's hard when you don't warm up. Ooh. All right. Here. Not afraid to try, not afraid to sing to the sky. Put your head close to mine, feel my temperature rise. Don't you try, nothing's gonna stand in my way. Take the sun from my day, try to rain on my parade. Ooh, ooh. Can you hear my sonic boom? Hear my sonic boom. I want you to hear my sonic boom. Want you to hear my sonic boom.
All right. So, I mean, your band came together and forged its path in one of the most unique ways I've ever heard a band doing so. So tell us how Across the Board began.
So we began with like garage jams and basement sessions and bonfire jams as a bunch of friends who had been playing together for years and years and years. And when I came to Toronto, that just kind of followed me. And I met Andy, and Andy had the same thing going here. He had a bunch of guys that he would jam with every week. They would rent out a rehearsal space, and they were not professional musicians. They were sort of, some were professional, some were semi-professional, some were just like not, just like love music. And these guys would jam out. And when we got together, I was like, let's start a band. Let's do some YouTube videos. So we did, you know, we have over 400 videos on YouTube. We're like a YouTube band that broke out of the internet box in about 2016 onto the touring circuit with our first album, Jane on Fire, when our fans were asking us, do you guys have your own music? Do you guys play live? And we just felt a bit of pressure. So we wrote an album. It took us a couple of years to write it. Like, we're not a new band. It looks like we are, but we've been around since 2013. We wrote this album, Jane on Fire, which was a culmination of everybody's kind of experiences musically. And we won a bunch of awards for it. So it was like, wow, exciting. And I remember the very first time that we played in Toronto here to a live audience, we had no idea who would show up because we didn't have any fans that we knew about. We had people who were subscribing to us on YouTube and were fans across the world. I mean, honestly, if we would have played in the Ukraine, we would have been like playing 10,000 people. But we live in Toronto, didn't have the opportunity to do that. So we booked our CD release in one of the local venues, and it was sold out in half an hour. And we were like, Lord, we had no idea.
You released your second album, which is called Sonic Boom. Yeah. What did you take away from the experience of making the first one that you applied to making this one?
The first one was, I have to say, a little bit of a hodgepodge. It was everybody's idea of what an album should be. When you're just kind of jamming in the garage or doing YouTube videos, every time we do a little break, whoever sticks behind and jams comes up with riffs, right? And it was a culmination of all those riffs that created that first album, because we were writing, we didn't even know we were writing. Well, Sonic Boom is certainly, it's our sound. By the time we wrote Sonic Boom, which was this last summer in 2017, we totally gelled with the band. It was more focused. Yeah, we knew what our sound was, we knew what our message was, and the whole idea about Sonic Boom is our story. It's taking ourselves from this YouTube group of people who like to do videos together to the tune of like 400 videos.
Yeah, no, even before that,
breaking out of the internet box, and like, where do we go from here? How do we come out of this cyber world into the real world, where we can open for big bands, where we can be that big band playing in that big festival, playing in that big stadium? And we created Sonic Boom out of that.
I mean, your sound is very clean. It's very tempo driven and it's precise, like in the vein of a Chris Isaacs or a Coldplay, which tends to translate really well in a live setting. Was that always the intention? Was first and foremost to be a great live band, seeing how you guys are jammers and you like to jam?
No, I have to say no. Our first intention was to write music that we felt proud of.
Nice.
We really wanted people to connect with.
However, it is a ton of fun.
Yeah, I mean, we spend more time rehearsing than we do playing live.
I think that's sort of the reward of the whole deal.
Yeah, the reward was that
we get to play. Music. We finally get to play.
Yeah, we played our music that we love, that we created, that we dig, that we really feel proud of, and we bring it out onto the stage, and people are singing it back to us. It's like, oh my God.
How do you guys go about putting a set list together? Are you guys always looking to change it up? Is it something that you have one specific tour and you say, okay, we're going to do this set of songs? Is there always standards that you have that bookends maybe the front and the back? How do you guys approach the set list process?
Oh, well, I guess it depends on how much the set time is, really. Right, and how many songs we could fit into it. But we have a lot of original songs that we could fit in, and it's also, I guess, the vibe, and I think the venue really determines what we're gonna play and who we're playing with as well. That's on the bill, right? It makes a difference.
That's true, because we do have a lot of songs.
Yeah.
And what happens is we've got we've got our standards, which were the ones that won awards. So we try and put those out because people seem to like them.
The ones the popular ones that people know and they want to hear. Like, we're gonna play the obvious.
And we're not. We rarely play covers in our original sets when we play live. However, it depends. If we've got like an hour and 15-minute set or a 45-minute set, which is longer than the usual,
we'll throw one cover.
We'll throw a cover in, something that's timely, that people will be like, oh my God, I just heard you guys are doing this right away. Wow, where's the video? We'll do something that surprises people. We'll try it.
How much of a marketing tool has YouTube been for your band, and do you think it's a must-do for most bands?
Ooh, big time.
So I'm going to say yes. And I know a lot of people are going to say, no, YouTube is not. But honestly, let's talk about the reality of this particular market. So this market, we have people who want to see something quick, hear something quick. They want to get on board with the trends. They want to be fed stuff. They want to be fed stuff that makes them interested enough to hit subscribe, because they've hit subscribe so much in the last 5 or 10 years that they're not hitting subscribe anymore. Right. So the only places where you're going to follow or hit subscribe these days are YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. And it's really important that you have a good presence on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And it's tough. I mean, if you really want to know how to do YouTube properly, you have to listen to those YouTube guru people. And you really have to make sure that you have good content, regular content.
That you get a good backlog.
And you have a good backlog of stuff that people can go through, because you don't want to be a one-hit wonder. This is not the era of one-hit wonders. And so what we've done is we've created a series of different shows that basically are things that interest us. Nothing is work. We love it all. So like on Mondays, we have a carpool karaoke we do because we drive a lot. So we do a karaoke in the Dodge Caravan. So we put that on YouTube. On Tuesdays, we have an acoustic jam. So we take songs that are either covers or our own songs, and we just like break them down acoustically, take away the drums, and see what happens. On Thursdays, we have a Pick Up and Play web series, which was our original web series, which is a cover song web series where we do pretty high-end videos to cover songs that are in the news right now, either because it was a new release or something big happened to that particular artist, or somebody died, you know, I have to say. We do cover the recently deceased artist. And then we also have a musical cooking show, because we like to cook.
What do you cherish about being indie?
Oh my God, being able to do what we want to do.
Being able to walk outside of our house, go to the store and buy something and come back.
Although sometimes that's not
possible. you know, locally we get.
Locally we have a little bit.
We start to get recognized.
Yeah, but I like it that we can decide if we want to do an album today or next year, or not do anything now, or just focus on YouTube. It's like up to us. There's no label that's telling us we have to do X number. In fact, we sort of tell our label what we want to do.
We dictate what's going on.
And that's fun. It makes it just like we're happy. There's no depression. There's no depression.
At our own pace, which is about 500 miles an hour.
But if we weren't going 500 miles an hour, or something happened, we would not feel pressured, because our label would be like, yeah, just let us know when you're ready.
The pressure is self-inflicted, so it doesn't feel that bad.
That's awesome. You know, the music industry and music business is always, and rightfully so, getting panned and tongue whipped a lot. But I want to know from you guys one thing that you really like about being in the business that may be going unappreciated.
I think, well, you know, it's an awesome question, because nowadays you don't have to wait for a big label to come and grab you so that people can see you. Just like go online, just share your stuff. People will see you. And if they like you, they're going to share it with their friends and their family, and just be patient. I don't know if y'all have watched any Gary Vaynerchuk videos, but patience is the key. Just do what you love to do and keep putting out content that you're proud of.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Do your best. Don't put out content just for the sake of putting out content. Like, think about it.
Quality,
you know?
Like,
good content. And you don't have to spend a lot of money and do these big high-end videos. Like,
do it on your iPhone.
What can you do that's cool with you know, really good signal that has the best quality that you can do? Always do the best that you can do and put it there. Don't be scared to just get online, because you have to be you. And if you're always trying to polish who you are, that's not you. And I think in the old days, it was all sort of polished by PR firms. Nowadays, the cool thing about the internet and the music industry, the positive is that I can get our stuff in front of people who would never have seen it otherwise.
Right.
The negative is that we also have to filter through all the noise, because there's a lot of people out there doing stuff that's not quality, that's not great. They haven't quite managed their way around what their sound is. And they're competing with us. And I think it can be frustrating sometimes. And I'm not telling people not to try, because you have to try. What it does is it ups the game for us, because we have to find a way to filter through that content and to show with consistency and, you know, with energy and with all of the creativity that we can rise above all of that stuff.
Greetings, fellow humans, and welcome to the music review on GoIndieNow. First off, this music review is a bit special, so I had to have some wine to say, first off, cheers to Mama Estrada, my mom, and cheers to the artist that I'm reviewing, which is JINGLE. Cheers to you. I'm recording this video from Puerto Rico, and I thought it was the perfect opportunity to review Anais's work for several reasons. First off, specifically, you're going to be listening to a bit of the tracks from Codex, live from her living room. It's a lo-fi album, and I say that out of the gates, to clarify expectations of a couple of things. Anais is the type of person that I am curious to see what she could do with a full-blown studio to herself and a sound engineer and time to produce some music, because this 12-song collection is actually very lovely and very surprising. Stylistically, I would combine her sound, or describe it as a fusion between Tori Amos, Amanda Palmer, and the Amanda Gallas. Tori and Amanda is because of the piano and whimsicalness and kind of a little bit of that crazy energy that it has. And the Amanda Gallas, I think, is a very personal opinion and something that I include in the description that I mentioned with her. Because the Amanda Gallas is a very polarizing artist. There are a lot of people who like her. There are a lot of people who appreciate what she can do, and there are a lot of people who probably don't like her music. Unlike with her work, I think Anais's work, or at least what I've read so far, which are 3 collections and 2 albums and several tracks on SoundCloud, it's that type of art. It's not for everyone, and I think that's what's so special about it. Because when it connects, it really connects. I also wanted to review her music, and especially this album, because being back in Puerto Rico, this album actually helped me a lot after the passing of Hurricane Maria. You see, your computer, when you hook in your phone to charge it or something, iTunes automatically boots, and her album was always there. And on more than one occasion, when I was really lost and just desperate and just feelings of despair, her album would come up, and I would listen to it, and it was like a friend singing you a lullaby. Sometimes a bit brooding, like No Now. Sometimes a bit darker, and sometimes even whimsical, like Stupid Chris song, which is actually one of my favorite songs from her. It's a song that always makes me smile, and it's very her. This collection of songs is very her in terms of the range of emotions that it has. She's a wild talent, that's for sure, and a raw talent, that's for sure. I say that I would like to hear her in a studio with a sound engineer, because I think the potential to do something even more special is there. I've told her numerous occasions that she should do piano instrumentals, because I do enjoy her playing. She thinks she's just hammering on the keys because she's self-taught with a piano. I'm self-taught with a guitar, which makes a hell of a lot more sense than with a piano, because if you've ever tried to play piano, which I have, it's a much harder instrument to tackle, or at least that's a matter of opinion, and it is mine because I tried piano and it's tough. Who knows? Maybe I'll get a keyboard and give it a go. But she can bang the keys sometimes, and sometimes little whimsical riffs like this one. But it's interesting. It's just interesting to witness someone just throwing themselves so raw into their music. And this is her in her living room recording herself. It's very rare to get that intimate of a glimpse into someone's work and how they do it. And she's inspired me to do something in the coming months, music-wise. So for that, I thank you, and for everything else, I thank you, Anais. Check her out. She's on SoundCloud. I'll try to include the link. And she's a talent worth checking out if you like really raw and intense poetry, or if you like music that doesn't care and that just is. So, highly recommend it. And in addition to all of this, I'd like to join another GoIndieNow member in saying thank you to Joe Compton for everything that he does for us and for the indie community, for being a good friend, a good writer, a good soul, and for doing the things that you do the way you do them, sir. So, cheers to you. And remember, guys, it's always time to go indie now.
CL Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you this month's marketing tip. So today we're going to be talking about Instagram. Now, Instagram has become a great place for authors and book lovers to congregate. We affectionately call it Bookstagram. And there's a lot of reasons that it is very, very popular. But there is one drawback. The one drawback is that you can't post live links. You can post a link, but it's just a text link, and if you click on it, it goes nowhere, so you have to copy and paste it. And most of Instagram users, like 90-some%, are on their phone, so it's a lot harder to copy and paste on a phone. Some people don't even know how to do that. So a lot of people will say, link in bio, or link on my profile, which is the only place on Instagram that has a live link, is the one link that they let you have in your biography. How can you utilize that link to make it more effective? Well, for starters, you can use this awesome little site called Linktree. Linktree is like a lifesaver. There is a free version and there is a pro version. The pro version is $6 and you get a few more things like statistics and more customization. But what Linktree is it's a link that you will put in your bio, just like any other link. You click on that link and it opens up a menu that looks very organic. It doesn't look like you're being taken away from Instagram at all. So that is great. And in there you can put a whole bunch of links. I have all of my books on Amazon. I have all my social media. I have my websites. I have at least 12 links in there. And it still hasn't stopped me yet. I don't know if there's a limit on it, but I've been able to put all kinds in there, so it's great. But anyways, I will show you a screenshot of what it looks like, and you can see how easy it is. You can just, anytime you want to update your links, you can just drop one in there. It takes literally less than 5 minutes to just drop a new link in there, arrange it where you want to. You can customize the backgrounds to match your profile. It's just a really great tool, especially when you have that limitation, and especially if you're marketing on Instagram. You can just say, hey, check the link in my bio. They click the link tree. There's the link, along with all kinds of other useful links that they might want to click. Another thing that I've saw a couple of people doing, and I might actually do in the future, is trying to make your own link tree on your website. So making something that's similar, like a landing page, that has just the little links like Linktree has, that you can put all of your stuff in, and then you can actually use your own affiliate links. And since that is a part of your website, you'll be getting paid for using your affiliate links. And, you know, it takes people to your website. They will be interacting more with your website. You get more hits to your website. So that is also an option that people have been using and is getting more popular. But if you're just starting out, try Linktree, because Linktree is awesome. By the way, I'm not affiliated with them at all. I just love their product. So anyway, that is my marketing tip for this month, is to check out Linktree and make linking on Instagram a lot easier for yourself.
So I was asked to do a little bit of an introduction for the interview that I did with Joe. And so what I wanted to do was kind of introduce my character, the main character, Bene. He is a wraith, which in my world means that he is without a soul. And there is something very profound hidden in that. I guess what I really wanted to touch on was, as authors, we have a tendency to put ourselves into our stories, right? Put who we are into our stories. And one of the things that I didn't notice until well after I had finished the story, and that is that Bene is me. In a very real sense, almost in a scary sense. He's felt the reality of what it means to be without a soul, without life, and yet to still be alive, right? And I would venture to guess that I'm not the only person who's ever felt like this. And I think that that's one of the beautiful things about fantasy in general, right? You know, we've talked about how it can be an escape from reality. We've talked about how it could be all these things. But I think that the reality is that fantasy is just another way of looking at the things that matter. For me personally in my life, I had to go through a series of things to get where I am now. And that was one of those situations. I felt like I had to go through a lot of suffering. I had to go through a lot of pain and anguish and feeling like I was without a soul, because I had to find a way through, right? I had to fight my way through. I've dealt with depression. I've dealt with PTSD and all these other things. And I get this feeling that I put all of that into The Dark Archer. And I didn't even mean to, right? Like I was just telling his story, and what came out was, in a very real sense, my story. And I can't just turn that off. Like that's kind of one of those things that kind of really hit me really hard. And I'm okay with that, you know, now that I see it done and I see it come to fruition and everything, I'm okay with that. I think it's important for people to really understand that fantasy is just another method of exploration of the human condition, right? I can add all of these different characters, all these different races. I can add all these different personalities and do all this stuff. And that makes it fun, and that makes it exciting, and that makes it all these things. But at the core of fantasy, I believe that we are simply trying to explore in a different way those same concepts. And there is that element of entertainment, there is that element of fun and chasing after, you know, the that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, when we tell a story, we're not just telling a story, right? We're trying to get people to listen to something. There is something in there. And so that is probably the biggest thing for me.
So, Robert, as a self-proclaimed avid fan of nerd culture, how important or helpful do you think it is for a writer to have a fandom first?
I would say that having a fandom helps. I don't know that it's necessarily the foundation, if that makes sense. But I would say that it definitely helps, because when you have a passion for something, it bleeds out into the world. That passion really, it helps us know where to pull from, if that makes sense.
Sure.
You know, so having a fandom, like, say for me, I like Tolkien, right? He's kind of my go-to. But just because I love his world and I love his races and I love all that stuff, that doesn't mean that that's the only place I go to for it, right? So there's a really awesome site I love that I go to. It's called sacredtexts.com, and it has everything you could imagine, on just about every topic you can imagine, old world, right? And it's all original texts, translated for us and for ease of understanding, pretty much. So
But do you worry about your writing because you are such a huge fan that you don't want to make it fan fiction or something that has already been done? Do you think about that a lot when you're writing?
I do. I really do. I mean, I write fantasy, so there's so many tropes out there already
Right.
set up, already developed, right? And so it makes it interesting, and it also makes it difficult, because in developing my world and developing my races and developing even the people, I'm trying to be unique. I'm trying to come up with something different,
Sure.
and that's nearly impossible. I mean, we talk about it in writing communities all the time, you know, how yeah, we have these awesome ideas, but guess what? Somebody's already come up with it, you know. So it really comes down to how the spin that we put on it, I think.
Yeah, sure. And finding a voice, right? I mean, that helps too, right?
Yes. Yeah, and that's a really, really interesting point you make right there, is because I tell people, I'm like, I think it took so long for me to put a book out there because of the fact that I wanted to find my voice first,
Right.
right? So I spent the last 20 years, you know, writing poetry and writing uh little stories and ideas and things like that, trying to develop a style.
Mm.
Um and I mean, even like that, it's I would guarantee that it's going to change. It's going
Yeah,
to
sure.
evolve, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. What is your writing process like? Are you someone who plots heavily? Are you pantser? How do you approach the writing process?
I am probably I would probably fall into the pantser category.
Interesting.
But the and there is a big but with that. I really love mutual friend John Ryers. You know, he developed a term that he coined as mind writing, and I would say that that's what I do. I spend months, sometimes weeks, sometimes longer, years or so, developing and coming up with these ideas and stories and people. And then when I sit down to write, they just start coming and flowing, because the world's already there in my head.
Nice.
The layout's already in my head. The races are already in my head. So then all I have to do is really develop my character, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my character then goes through the world. He's making decisions. He's seeing things for the first time, and he's reacting to them. Develops relationships. It could be friendships. It could be other things, you know. And all these things, they play together to create my story.
When the decision came to finally put your work out there, was it kind of like ripping off a Band-Aid, or did you have a calculated plan all along?
Oh, I don't know that when we start we ever have a calculated plan. I think we tried to. Uh, um, I would say it was probably more like ripping off a Band-Aid.
Uh,
Uh, I look at it now. I have a friend who's recording, doing the audio for The Suffering. Um,
nice.
and and he thought it would be a nice little short. Um, it's a novella, right? It's
Yeah.
only like 25,000 words, and so he thought that'd be a nice introduction for him to learn as well because he hadn't done it before. And and it's pretty cool seeing how he's working through that. But at the same time, I say that to kind of bring back, uh there are mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Um and some of them kind of bad. Like he'll send me a picture of the page, what did you mean by this? And I sit here and I'm looking at it and I'm staring at it and I'm mulling and I'm like, dude, I don't have anything for you. I no clue what it was supposed to be.
But you get to a point where you really have to finally put it out there, right? I mean,
You
it gets to that point, right?
Yeah.
You can only look
At
at
some
it so
point,
often, so much.
yeah, you don't have an option anymore. It's either you just keep it there so nobody ever sees it, or you put it out there and
Yeah.
you just wait to get stepped on, because the thing is none of us are perfect.
Right.
And we find, I mean, if you're as avid a reader as I am, we find mistakes in Random House books that have been out for years.
Yeah.
And so it's not, I would say it's one of those things where it's not a matter of trying to reach perfection
Right.
so much as it is getting your work out there so people can fall in love with your world.
What's your favorite part about the world building process? How deep have you gone? Do you have like a Bible language? What have you done, and
Ooh.
what have you enjoyed?
I I enjoy all of it. When I was younger, I was very much into linguistics, so I kind of developed a few different languages when I was a kid.
Nice.
Um, and I haven't used any of them yet, but you see kind of uh, spots, I guess, where I incorporate these different aspects of language and stuff, and you see that uh, I've touched on it, in the books. But as far as the world building in total, man, I love it. And a lot of it I let unfold. The whole Panzer thing comes up, and I let that unfold. And as the story and the myths grow, so too does the world itself. So like right now, in my world, I have there's one continent where there are three main deities, and one of those deities has a daughter, and that daughter is looked at as evil, right? And so there are all these myths that are involved with that.
Hmm.
And so it's really fascinating working with that. But then in another continent, same world, they have a pantheon of the Great Nine. So it's kind of like old world titans. If you ever played World of Warcraft, it's kind of like the Titan mythology in that one.
What do you love about being indie?
Oh, I like that I have choices. I like the fact that I have control. The Dark Archer is being published with our right side, and one of the first things I told them was, I already have plans in place. There are already, things in motion. This is what it's going to be, right? And they said okay, and that was okay.
Hmm.
So I like the fact that I still maintain that creative control over my work, over everything.
If you see someone struggling with the idea of putting themselves out there, what's one thing you would probably say to them that maybe somebody said to you, or you wish that somebody had said to you?
I would probably have to say that there isn't a right time.
Nice.
There's never a right time. It's kind of like it's kind of like having kids. You're never ready. you just aren't. You know, I have 3 daughters, so like, that's the big thing is you're never ready for it. You're never ready for what's coming next. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that too often we let fear or that uncertainty grip us, right? And so I would say face it, overcome it,
Wow.
or at least learn how, get the tools to figure out how,
Nice.
right? Maybe your writing needs a little bit more work. Maybe you just need a little bit more experience. Maybe you need to learn how to do this one other thing, right? And I mean, as with any world, there's worlds in that we need to learn from and grow from. We never stop, and that's okay.
Hi, I'm Marnie Kate, and I'm reading an excerpt from my new book, Chasing Caitlin. Yes, darling, keep clicking those buttons. You're giving me what I want. How kind of you to build my case for me. Not that I really need this additional indiscretion. I'll have our divorce papers sent to you very soon. He could pretend he was working hard, but I knew Jeremy. Maybe he was answering a few work texts, but the ones where his eyes brightened, bringing out his devilish grin, were not work. It was her. I say her like there was just one. One woman is never enough for Jeremy. Jeremy likes the chase. I was the last one, the one he finally caught, the one he decided worthy of him. I was enough of a trophy to marry. Jeremy sat on his monstrous leather chair while I chose a love seat across from him. Love seat, far from. When Jeremy proposed to me, he told me he found his dream wife. With me, his dream life would come true. I now wonder which meant more to him. The penthouse we lived in was larger than most people's houses. Centered in the financial district of Los Angeles, Jeremy insisted it was the perfect home for us. It was lavish and excessive in my opinion. The view of the high-rise buildings with their scattering of lit windows irritated me. By the time we moved in, Jeremy had already decorated it to his liking. Black leather furniture, the odd Art Deco sculpture, dark wood floors, gray walls with white accents, no wall hangings. The wall-to-wall windows with the view of the buildings were enough decoration for him. They showed success. At least he allowed me to put up an elegantly framed picture of us from our wedding day. My mother warned me a man like Jeremy would give me security, but he would never meet my needs for love. As much as I hated to admit it, my mother was right. I knew that when I agreed to marry him. In the back of my mind, I knew he was not the man I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. There had always been signs of his wandering eye. Earlier in the evening, he started his texting and continued through the night. Setting his fork down on the unfinished plate, he excused himself. Sorry, babe. I've got to put out some fires. I'm still reeling from the San Diego fiasco. Of course, I said, forcing a smile. Yes, another night where he claimed he had a bunch of work to do, that he needed to catch up, that he had so much that just couldn't wait. This was not business. Since the beginning of our marriage, there were signs that Jeremy was a womanizer. The blinders I put on allowed me to ignore it. At first, I usually calmed my mind and pretended it wasn't happening. But tonight was different. The ding of each message was like a knife in my heart. It was time for me to put the final piece of my plan into action. Like I said, for Jeremy, it was all about the chase, and he already captured me. How ironic he married me, Caitlin Chase. He caught his prize, but not for long. Closing my book and picking up my teacup, I decided it was best to leave the room. Where are you going? Jeremy lifted his eyes long enough to meet mine. I'm going to bed, Jeremy. I'm tired, I said with a fake yawn. Setting the phone down, he watched me walk away. Calling after me, he said, I'm sorry I've been ignoring you, babe. I have to keep those dollars rolling in, don't I? Yeah, I said, laughing half-heartedly. I didn't bother to turn around or he would have seen me roll my eyes. I hated it when he called me babe. Confronting him would not be helpful. He'd tell me I was crazy. Then if I didn't apologize for my insanity, he would threaten to take everything away from me. I had no plans to be penniless at the age 32. Marrying badly shouldn't be a sentence of poverty. Soon, everything would change. His house of cards would come crashing down. The plan has been put into motion and there was no turning back. I set the cup in the sink and was jerked out of my bitter reverie by Jeremy's touch. I let out a small gasp of surprise as he wrapped his strong arms around me. I eyed the knife block. It would be easy enough to stab him. I could claim it was an innocent mistake as I drove the blade into his femoral artery. Once again, I rolled my eyes. I had one shot at the blow and strike, and realistically, I knew that wouldn't satisfy me. I wouldn't like prison. Orange was not my color. You smell so good, Jeremy purred in my ear. My body reacted to his warm breath on my skin. Irritated, I reconsidered the idea of stabbing him as he began to kiss my neck. My body and my mind were in a battle. I forced myself to focus on the words I'd been telling myself for the past year. Be the good wife. Ignore the fact that he's probably imagining he's with someone else. 16 hours, 23 minutes, then you're free. Turning me around to face him, he kissed me on the tip of my nose. Don't be mad, babe. You know I'm doing all of this for you. Lifting my chin with his finger, he asked in a firm voice, You know that, right? Of course, Jeremy, I said, leaning in and kissing him. Best actress in an unhappy marriage goes to Caitlin Chase Whitaker. I want to thank everyone who made this possible, especially my lying cheat of a husband. This is really for you, Jeremy. I hope you want to find out a little bit more about Caitlin Chase and her revenge plan. If you have any questions or comments, I can be reached on Facebook at facebook.com/MarnieKate. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Andy Peliquin, author of the freshly re-released Hero of Darkness series, and I'm here today to read a little excerpt from it for you guys to get a taste of just how much fun it is. So here we go. Eyes the color of night watched Lord Demuria plunge to the forest floor. The wind seemed to hold the nobleman suspended in the air for a moment before slowly releasing him to the grasping clutches of gravity. The hard, dark face of the hunter showed no sign of pity as the body landed with a loud thud at his feet. It is no more than he deserves, he thought. He felt no remorse as he watched the broken man fight for his last pitiful, agonizing breaths. Not given to mercy, the fear in Lord Demuria's eyes meant nothing. Soot and mud stained the nobleman's robes, and crimson contrasted sharply with the white blonde of his hair. 3 broad-headed crossbow bolts protruded from the nobleman's chest and stomach. Demuria struggled to speak, made difficult by the quarrel puncturing his lungs. The hunter bent close to hear the whispered words. Do it, you bastard! Lord Demuria's eyes closed as he awaited the inevitable. The hunter moved, with precision and speed, drawing the dagger from his belt and plunging it deep into the dying man's chest. The thrust snapped ribs and sliced through the smooth heart muscle. Demuria's screams echoed in the silence of the forest, an eerie sound tinged with desperation and terror. The screams of his victims always remained with him long after their deaths. They played over and over in his mind, accompanied by the vision of their dying faces. Bright ruby light flared from the gem set in the hilt of the dagger, and power rushed through the blade. The hunter gasped as the voice in his mind screamed its pleasure. A familiar pain flared along his back, but he was accustomed to it. It was the price he paid for the power. This, he thought, reveling in the sensations flooding through him, this is why I do it. A final shudder ran through the broken body before him, and the cries of agony faded into a gentle whisper. Damn you, hunter, Demuria cursed with his dying breath. Silence reigned in the forest, broken only by the sound of the wind whistling through the trees. After the thrill of the chase, the stillness hung like a weight on the hunter's mind. Calloused hands trembled as he gripped the worn hilt of the knife embedded in his latest kill, and his long, lean muscles bulged. The blade, caught on the dead man's ribs, required a surprising amount of effort to pull free, even with the hunter's immense strength. Blood glistened on the dagger, and the hunter watched it soak into the steel. The bright red light leaking from the gem slowly dimmed, and the stone became translucent and colorless once more. Soul hunger has been sated. He no longer heard the insistent voice in his head urging him to kill. It will remain silent, for now. The hunter sheathed his blade and stopped to kneel over the lifeless form of his prey. Placing one hand on the man's head and the other on his now silent heart, he bowed. "May the Longkeeper take your body. Your soul is forfeit," the hunter intoned. His voice was rich and deep with a hint of gravel, a hard voice, reciting a final ritual for a fallen prey, a ritual from a past he could no longer remember. He stared down at the broken body lying at his feet. This one was surprisingly difficult to track down. Green blood now oozed from the dead man's chest, staining the forest floor a sickly color. The scent of poisoned flesh hung in the air, the effects of the venomous argon with which he coated the bolts. A fit creature for the hunt. A sense of satisfaction flooded him. Another contract fulfilled. He had killed all manner of men. Big men, little men, strong men, weak men. Cowards, brave fools. Heroes, villains, rich men, beggars. He was the hunter. All men were his prey. So that is from Hero of Darkness, Book 1, Darkblade Assassin. Check it out and enjoy this episode of Go Indie Now.
Hi guys, I am KRISTINA RIENZI, Jersey Shore thriller author and president of Sisters in Crime Central, New Jersey. I'm so excited that my latest novel was released on May 28th. It's called Among Us. It is a government conspiracy thriller, and I am here to read you the first chapter. The novel takes place in 2 different time periods, 1968 and present day. The first chapter takes place in 1968, and I'm going to go ahead and read that for you right now. "6'4", with a buzz cut and 2 stars on his shoulder, Major General Lou Rollins hopped into the mud-covered all-terrain vehicle. Strapped with every weapon and tool a military man on an alien hunt might need, he revved the crappy government engine. The easterly wind lifted pinpricks of rain droplets left behind from last night's rainstorm. They found their home on Lou's face. No waiting for them to evaporate. Passivity was for civilians. He shook the spit-like water off and hocked to Loogie to send a message. Never mess with an armed man on a badass far-out mission. Lieutenant General Dowd's leathery face flashed before Lou's mind's eye. He grunted. An invisible scar where Army career suicide had pressed the barrel of an M14 to his temple niggled at him. His credibility was about to bleed out on the side of Highway 35. It was worth every AB-positive pint. Lou unrolled the coffee-stained map from the passenger seat. He pulled it taut until the wrinkles disappeared. Sliding the tactical flashlight from his belt, he turned the illumination on. The thin paper appeared translucent against the darkness. He traced his finger along the route from where he was to where he needed to be. His sense of direction was stellar. Lou was a human compass, reading the stars to find his way at night. The map verified his hunch. Due west. No stinking wood fibers would make a bit of difference. It was time to trust his gut and the universe. He pressed the gas and plodded along the uneven land. If evidence of those bastards existed, he would be the one to find it. He didn't give a rat's ass if it was those little gray men. Shit, he would take anything inhuman, with or without a heartbeat, whether they had hearts or not. And he meant anything. The green kind, the reptile kind, the insect kind, the kind he hadn't imagined yet. Not because he was crazy, because they existed. Any quantum physicist worth his PhD would agree. Tonight was Lou's one shot to prove to those pompous assholes whose butt cheeks were sewn together that they didn't corner the market on intelligent life in the universe. Not a chance in holy hell. White-knuckling the steering handles, Lou slammed his size 12 boot on the gas pedal. His 2 front tires barely jumped before landing back on the marshy ground with a splash. Mission popping a wheelie for kicks had failed. The damn UFO had crashed in the worst possible spot, 3 miles from the ocean, knee-deep in the wetlands after an East Coast deluge bordering on a tsunami. His pulse quickened. Sure as shit, a futuristic disc-shaped invader belonging on the other side of the universe could be taking a nap in his backyard. The urge to yell yeehaw nearly took over. He threw his shoulders back instead. No mountain man here. Strictly highbrow army all the way, although his deviant shadow self disagreed. Lou strategically maneuvered the military vehicle through the thick molasses of terrain at sloth speed. He was getting nowhere fast. Soggy soil devoured what was left of the tread on his oversized tires. He rose and sank along with the ATV as if he was driving over a wet sponge. The topography betrayed him big time. He punched the dash. Speed, force, anything was better than trudging through the sloshy territory. He hit the pedal to the floor, pushing the ATV to his breaking point. Instead of gaining ground, the driver's side tire hit a log buried below the quicksand like dirt. For a split second, the vehicle skidded into a fishtail. The back tires swung out scarcely enough behind Lou to half dump him into the mess below. He hung onto the side of the truck like a monkey in a tree. Heaving his torso back up to the wheel, the massive bicep he had grown in the weight room came in handy. He struck the side of the road pig with his boot as clumps of earth propelled into the darkness. Back upright and focused, the nervous rush had him seeing stars. Lou blinked a few times until his vision cleared. A puffed-out chest later, he regained control of the hunk of metal and rubber. Squelching over the landscape, he closed in on his bullseye inch by inch. When he had gone about 100 feet, he slowed to a stop. Gangs of crickets cried aloud in a cacophony of distant chirps. Squirrels scampered frantically through the trees. They weren't running away from the crowd. Adrenaline rushed through his veins. Closer than he had ever been to a possibly otherworldly object, he lifted the night vision binoculars to his eyes. The moon glinted off a spark of silver shrouded by oversized trunks and branches. Was it a plane or a spaceship? He couldn't tell. Only a sliver of the crash site was visible through the dense wood. No wings protruded. No tail lifted from the darkness. No lights. No sounds. No gases, flames, or screams. He caught a glimpse of the only observable section from his vantage point. A curve like a bubble, possibly a disc, was nothing like he had ever seen on a plane, be it private, commercial, military, or otherwise. Lou's mouth went dry. He swallowed to create natural saliva. His tongue was like a dehydrated prune. What was he thinking, refusing to take a partner on this mission? He had no idea what he was up against. Damn cocky ego refused company. He wanted all the credit, Army suicide or not. If he were smart, armed forces leader he had been trained to be, he would have acquiesced. Maybe Dowd had the answer already, and Lou was simply the chump. He shrugged off his discontent, inhaled the moist air, and jerked the side-by-side around a group of trees. Turning left toward the moonbeam's only reflective target, for the first time in his life, he hoped he didn't see what he wanted to see most. As Lou got closer to confronting the object face to face, his stomach clenched. If someone or something were inside the craft and alive, he would really drop a load in his pants this time. Ego was his bitch. To suspect aliens exist was one thing. To find proof was another. To experience their existence would be life-changing. The radio beeped. Lou silenced it. The last thing he needed was an unexpected signal or an unannounced voice coming through the speaker to declare his arrival on the path of extraterrestrial danger. The faster he debunked the weather balloon, the better off he would be. His final trek to the mysterious object was a blur. When he arrived, he shut off the engine. Thick woods wrapped him in an eerie blanket of silent darkness. Soundlessness defied all logic. Fear of the unknown hung in the air like a curtain. Lou wouldn't speak. Whatever was out there might hear him. He fell back in his seat. No longer standing, he drew in a breath as if it were his last. It might be. Lou narrowed and widened his eyes in rapid succession. His vision alone couldn't be trusted. Awe and fear swirled inside his gut like marble rye. An honest-to-God illusion stared back at him. Mouth agape in wonder, he reached for his radio without breaking his stare on the thing that couldn't exist, but did. I hope you enjoyed the first chapter of Among Us. You can find it and all of the information about me and my books at KRISTINARIENZI.com. That's Kristina with a K, RIENZI, RIENZI.com. Thank you, guys.
Here, and today I'm going to be reading to you from my recently published A Weapon of Magical Destruction. This is the first book in the Agents of Assets series, and it came out June 5th. Book 2 is due out early July, I believe July 15th. So let's dive right in and see if you guys like it. She'd had the sense to walk away. Achievement unlocked. If this had been game night, she'd have earned herself a badge of honor. When Matt came home, she was definitely telling him about this triumph. How many girls can walk away from a dangerous hottie like that and live to tell the tale? Patting herself on the back, she rounded the corner towards her apartment complex, radiating pride, head held high. And even better, she hadn't asked his name. No attachments, no connections. She'd toss out his card the minute she got inside. No need to dwell on it any further. Though she had given him her number. Damn. Well, she didn't have to answer the phone to an unknown caller, so not a complete loss. Men were a distraction she didn't need at the moment. And she had Matt in her life anyway, and his awesome boyfriend Josh. Between the two of them, there was plenty of testosterone to go around. She unlocked the after-hours security gate to her apartment complex and took the short path towards her building. Kids were still swimming in the communal pool, laughing and splashing at each other. Some of her neighbors were out taking evening strolls now that the brutal heat of the day had cooled. For the first time in all the long days, she could take a deep, cleansing breath. Everything was as it should be. Sage Sinwig? A man stepped out of the shadows on her tiny front porch, his face partially hidden from the lamps. He stood at least a head taller than her, making her crane her neck just to get a better look at him. What little she could see, though, wasn't a face she recognized. And then, how the hell did he know her name? Even worse, how did he know this was her apartment? Her heart kicked into overdrive, and she scanned around to see if there might be more hiding in the shadows. Damn it, she screamed in her head. Of course this day had to end with more oddities. Who was asking? She looked at him again. The path lights were on, and he was standing just out of their glow. For a moment, she worried that the guy from the bar had followed her. But this guy was different. Wearing a black fedora, cloaking some of his head, and a leather duster over dark shirt and dark pants, he was camouflaged in the shadows. The only light resided in his eyes. Pale turquoise, with a hint of familiarity she couldn't quite put her finger on. She growled with frustration as she met those eyes. An annoyed glare, balling up her fists, ready to fight. Devin had been training her. She was ready. "Are you Sage Sinrig?" he asked, with more force this time. "No," she lied. "And this is private property. Leave the premises before I call security." He reached out faster than she could react and took hold of her hand, flipping it over to reveal her birthmark. Her instincts kicked in and she twisted, breaking his flimsy hold and rounding on him, sending her fist flying at his face. Quick as she was, he was faster, and he blocked her strike with ease. "We need to talk." He stepped into the light and held his arms up in surrender. She had been ready to hit him again, but caught sight of his wrist. He had the same birthmark. Her eyes lit with as much shock as the others had done when they had seen her birthmark. She believed it was a deformity that only she and her mother shared in this special hereditary marking, but now she knew that was a lie. And suddenly the turquoise eyes made sense too. Was he family? Some distant relation she'd never been told of? They not only shared the same eye color, but the same deformity, all the way down to the crown of leaves of what appeared to be a tree shaped out of broken veins. "I'm not here to fight with you." He lowered his hand slowly and spoke in a whisper. I'm here to help. I don't need any help. She relaxed her fighting stance. The alarms that had gone off at the bar when she dealt with those other gorgeous blue eyes were silent now in the presence of this equally dangerous-looking guy. What the hell was going on? Her instincts should have been telling her to run. She should have been screaming for help, calling the police. Normal people didn't skulk in the shadows. But standing in front of this guy, who clearly wanted to look dangerous and badass, she felt only curiosity. You might not think you need help just yet, but you do, he replied. Can we go inside and talk? I can explain. We can talk out here, she crossed her arms. No, we can't. Too many ears. He nodded and then looked upwards. Sage turned to look in the same direction and saw someone drawing their curtains shut in a second-story apartment. You and I share the same symbol. Aren't you the least bit curious what it means? Sage opened her mouth to say yes, but the words refused to come. That was exactly what he would want her to say. Does the name Asset make a difference? He whispered. That word threatened to bring tears to her eyes. She didn't want to say it out loud, but if he knew about Asset, then he had to know about her mother. Maybe he was connected to her family in a way she never knew. Fine. She groaned, hoping that she wasn't about to make the stupidest of all mistakes by allowing him inside. But I swear, if you put a hand on me again... He smirked. I have no interest in putting my hands on you. Good. She responded quickly, though not too certain what he meant by that comment. Either way, she was making a beeline for the kitchen to grab a knife. So I hope you enjoyed this little sample of A Weapon of Magical Destruction. This book is available right now, and book 2 will be out next month. Check me out online at katiestalitis.com. You can find my books at Barnes & Noble, at Amazon, all retailers. Or you can connect with me directly on Facebook. I practically live there. So, I hope you'll enjoy it. Thanks for listening, guys.
Hi there, I am Timothy Bateson, and I am one half of the husband and wife writing team behind the Shadows Over Seattle's urban fantasy series. The stories in the series consist of a prequel short story set, known as the Shadows Over Seattle prequels, and then we will have the Shadows Over Seattle novels releasing as time allows. The first of the short story prequels features one of our Wolf Shifter characters, Richard Parsons, and I have to say I personally love writing this character, and I'm hoping that you actually enjoy reading about him too. So, without further ado, I am going to introduce you to the Under a Hunter's Moon story, which first saw print back in 2014 and is now coming back on its own with a new cover, new titles and everything, and is available very shortly from all major ebook retailers. Chapter 1, October 31st, 2013. A janitorial closet served as my hiding place until the museum staff locked up for the night. The simple lock disengaged in seconds, and I made my way down the corridor. A solid oak door blocked my progress as I reached into a backpack. This presented a challenge, but I resolved not to be defeated. Pulling out my lockpicking tools, I set to work. I glanced over my shoulder a couple of times, thinking I heard movement from around the corner. The night guard was making her rounds, and I wanted to avoid running afoul of her. If she discovered me so close to obtaining my target, it would be disastrous. Less than a minute after starting, the tumblers clicked into place. I eased the door open, slipping into the room housing the touring exhibition. Green light from the emergency exit sign cast a pale glow over my shoulder. I shouldered my backpack as I placed a folding piece of paper between the deadbolt and the strike plate, preventing the lock from engaging. I tested the door, and it required more than a casual effort to push open. More than satisfactory. The door opened into the rear of an exhibition room. Dim overhead lights shone down on several displays. Moonlight shone through the honeycomb skylight, causing filaments of shadow to overlay the displays, a little like dark cobwebs. The clouds were so wispy that there was little chance of them obscuring the moon. The displays highlighted various predators and prey of Washington. Different lighting effects created the feel of a wilderness and unsettled the nerves of the average visitor. Years of hunting at night meant I wasn't even the least fazed. I glanced around, getting my bearings, and took in the life and death struggles that surrounded me. To the left, a rabbit ran from a cougar. To the right, several pheasants flew from bushes, pursued by a raging boar. Despite the familiarity of the other scenes, the central display caught my attention. The woodland recreation was so realistic that I detected the scent of damp in the soil. 2 hunters hid in the bushes, pointing their rifles at a third figure. Though she wasn't human, I knew both aspects of her nature, human and wolf. Her wolf form was posed as if running from the hunters. As I reached out to touch her paw, I remembered how things had turned out on the night portrayed. My fingers contacted perfectly preserved fur, and the sensations flooded back from that Halloween night. The air turned damp. The scent of the forest after a rainfall filled my nostrils, and the sensations of grass and mud between my toes. Tears welled up, blurring my vision, and memories came flooding back. As I looked up through the skylight, the moon became fuller and brighter, a hunter's moon that shone through the trees. The room faded. That's your first chapter of Under a Hunter's Moon. If you are interested in finding out more about that story, please go ahead and visit the Under a Hunter's Moon page at my website. This story will be available at Smashwords, iBooks, Kobo, Barnes & Noble and Amazon. It will be priced at 99 cents, and all the links are available at http://UAHM-home. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to this short story introduction, and please, if you are interested in finding out more, do go over to my website and contact me from there. Thank you very much.
Hi guys, I'm KRISTINA RIENZI, thriller author and also president of Sisters in Crime Central New Jersey, and I am here today to talk about introverts in an extrovert world. Just to give you a little background, my history and experience is in both corporate leadership and human resources, as well as I have my master's in counseling psychology, and I'm currently a leadership and development coach. So I do have an interest in this topic, as well as I am a writer and I'm an introvert. I actually scored the top 1% of INFJ on the Myers-Briggs, which is an assessment for personality types. And so I understand a lot about what it feels like to be an introvert in an extrovert world, especially when it comes to writing. So what I'm going to do today is talk a little bit about the difference between an introvert and extrovert, as well as what are some top tips for writers when it comes to being an introvert in an extrovert world. So the true difference between an introvert and extrovert isn't about being social or outgoing. It really is about your energy, where you get your energy from and where your energy is depleted from. And so for an introvert, you get your energy from being alone. When you're an extrovert, you get your energy from other people. So in order to replenish your energy when you've been around a lot of people as an introvert, you need alone time. In terms of an extrovert, you actually need to be around people to get your energy back. So being alone actually depletes your energy. So that is why when there are introverts out at parties or at networking events and things like that, they may be a little bit more quiet and shy. They may not talk as much, or they may lose their energy quickly and get tired or just not be in conversations as much as the extroverts. And that has to do with energy. And the more you're aware of that, the more you can take care of yourself around that and control that so that you can be the best version of you when you're out in the world networking and dealing with readers and doing all the extrovert type stuff, which we do have to do. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, because I think you do hear a lot how people say, oh, you know, to me, especially like, Kristina, you can never be an introvert. You're so outgoing. You're so social. Well, there's a limit to that. And I do that and I have that, but I need to be in my office with the door closed, writing, or quiet time, and just sort of replenishing that in order to give that kind of energy. And it's equal. The amount of energy I give, I need to be replenishing. So you really have to take care of yourself in that regard. So anyway, I'm going to give you guys my personal top 5 tips of being an introvert in an extrovert world as a writer. And I'm going to start from number 5 and go to number 1 in order of what I consider reverse importance. So number 5 is how you spend your time. The majority of the time that you spend as a writer is probably going to be behind your laptop writing stories, plotting stories, connecting on social media, and so forth. And that is great, because as an introvert, you are technically alone. You're behind a laptop, you're in your home, you can make it as comfortable and quiet as you need it to be. And so there is that level of protection there. Even though you're interacting online and writing, you are getting your energy replenished that way. So that is great. And the majority of your time spending it on writing and behind the laptop is actually really good for you as an introvert and a writer, because you are connecting socially. So that is important. However, there are going to be times where you do need to get together with people one-on-one, and or have a call or a Skype or things like that, interacting even in person. And the recommendation there is, as much as you can do that one-on-one, do that. Tip number 4, really important for any situation, but especially for introverts and extrovert in an extrovert world. Be yourself. I know that sounds self-explanatory, but it isn't. I think a lot of times introverts feel like they are quiet, they are shy, maybe they don't fit in, maybe they feel different than other people. And so you feel like in order to be successful as an author, you need to be outgoing, you need to be all over the place at all the time, in every event, and interacting with every reader, and putting yourself out there constantly. And if that's not who you are, then that's not what you want to do. You want to be yourself. You want readers and fellow writers to get to know the real you. And that means being honest with yourself about who you are, and being transparent to the readers and writers in your life. And what I mean by that is, to give you an example, my first writer's comp, well, actually it wasn't my writer's comp, it was my first book signing. It was in New York City, and it was a big book signing, and I was terrified. I was quiet. I didn't know how to act. I sat down. I didn't engage. I felt like, what am I doing here? This is overwhelming. And I did get a little nudge from the people I brought to say, get up, shake hands, talk to people. And that did help, but it was very overwhelming. And so what I did was I was honest, and I told everyone, hey, this is my first book signing. I'm a little shy. I apologize if I'm quiet. I'm not, quite sure how to act. And I will tell you, the support you get when you're honest about these things is amazing. People get it. Many readers are also introverts, so they understand. Okay, so for number 3, support. Support is huge. I don't just mean in general with your groups online. We all have our writers groups online. We have our writers groups that we go to in person. We have all of these things. But support is really important, especially for an introvert, because sometimes you may feel like you're not as engaged as others maybe in person, and you're not jumping into a conversation, so you miss something, or you're, kind of protecting yourself, your energy, and you're keeping to yourself and not interacting as much. And so you're not making those networking connections. You may feel like you're alone a lot in this. And that is not the case. Many, many authors are introverts. And many of us have worked really hard to come out of our shells and to push past that. It doesn't mean it doesn't affect us. It just means that we are working at it, working at the social piece, the extrovert piece when we're around readers and authors. Having that support is huge. So what I mean by that is, if you're going to a book signing, if you're going to a networking event, if you're going to a writer's group, conference, anything, bring someone along. Go with a girlfriend, go with your guy friend, go with somebody who you trust, who knows you, and who is kind of your lifeline. And I've done that with everything. Only recently will I now, do I have the courage to go alone, but I do usually bring someone with me because I know that if things get tough, I have somebody to lean on, I can talk to, I can say like, I'm overwhelmed, I need to take a break or whatever. And you've got somebody there who gets it and can step up and help you out. And it's so, so important. When you're engaging with people, you don't always have to talk. You can ask questions about the reader. What do you like to read? Where are you from? Let them talk. That sometimes is less energy, so it's easier to do. Number 2, one of the things that are really hard for a lot of us to do, know your limits. Know how much you can do and how much you can't do. What can you handle? What can't you handle? How much can you handle? Can you do a 3-day writers conference? Is that too much? What about a 1-day writers conference? Half day? Maybe just an hour a day. I don't know. Everyone's different. Know your limit. Sometimes you're not going to know this till you test it out. You go to an event, you say, oh my gosh, I went to a 3-day event. That's way too much for me. I can only do a 1-day event. And that is in terms of like a conference or something like that, right? But when it's week by week, know your limit. We always want to do so much. We want to do everything. We don't want to miss an opportunity. We want to be present, especially as an introvert. You're online a lot. So if there's an opportunity to meet readers in person, you want to take it, right? I mean, scary as it is, we do want to put ourselves out there. So just don't overbook yourself. Number 1, simple. I said it in the beginning. This is the most important thing. If you do nothing else in life, in writing, in whatever, the most important thing for an introvert is alone time. You need it. You really, really need it. And I know there are extroverts in your life that aren't going to understand this. They're going to think you're blowing them off. They're going to think you don't want to hang out. They're going to think maybe you're selfish. Maybe, you're, I don't know, avoiding. I mean, whatever the case may be, that isn't it at all. You're an introvert. You get your energy from being alone. It's okay to tell them that. They might not understand. They might not even think there's such a thing as being an introvert. They might just say, oh, that's an excuse for you not to come hang out with me. Well, whatever they're going to think. Tell them, I need my alone time. I'm an introvert. I get drained when I'm around people. I need to regenerate it. I need to be alone. So it's okay. And over time, they will see when you have your energy to spend, you're going to spend it on them. But you need that alone time. Make sure you have it. Look at your calendar. Make sure there's some white space. Whether it's 15 minutes a day, an hour a day, or a day off a week, whatever. Just know you need it. And alone time could be writing. It could be, if that works for you. Sometimes alone time is more than that. It's writing plus sitting in the yard and listening to the birds, or, taking a nap, or going for a walk, or spending time with your pet, whatever. In summary, the top 5 things to think about as an introvert in an extrovert world. Number 5, is spend the majority of your time reserved for being either doing your work online or one-on-one. Number 4, be yourself. Be honest, transparent. Tell people what you need from them. Explain you're an introvert. When people are aware, they're understanding. Number 3, get support in your world. Make sure you have somebody. Drag someone to the Net Writers Conference. Have someone you can call when you need them, when you're overwhelmed. That support is everything. Number 2, know your limits, your personal limits. Don't overdo it. Say no if you need to, but understand that's really important, okay? And number 1, most important thing for an introvert in an extrovert world is getting that white space on your calendar, creating alone time from a schedule standpoint and also from an as-needed standpoint. In the middle of something, you're exhausted, go walk away for 5 minutes. Know you need it. It's really important. You can do this. You can be an introvert in an extrovert world.
Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Hi, I'm author Chandra TRULOVE Fry, and I have been given the honor to do a author review for GoIndieNow. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. I am doing an audiobook review. It's my first one, and I chose the book Effing Shattered by K.B. Andrews, narrated by Sarah Puckett.
He practically pushes me up to the bar and onto a bar stool before motioning for the bartender. I make myself comfortable, hanging my purse on the hook under the bar as he orders us a drink. He takes the seat next to me, and I look over at him, trying to figure him out and what he wants with me.
I have to admit, it's the first time I've listened to a book, and I loved it. It was great. The narrator did an awesome job capturing the book and giving it the flair it needed. She was really good at giving them a spark. I was drawn into the story immediately. I really wanted to sit down and listen to it and just ignore everyday life, but that's kind of hard to do. K.B. Andrews is an awesome writer. I love her work, and Effing Shattered, it had me laughing. It had me wanting to be like, why did you do this? And I identified with the main character. I'm pretty much the same way, but I don't think I would do the bucket list. You'll understand when you read the book. But I'm kind of glad I chose the audiobook on this one. Like I said, Sarah Puckett did a great job bringing the characters to life, and the story was amazing. It was fun to listen to. And I have noticed that audiobooks are great for those times when you can't sit down and just read a book. I'm honored that I get to be a part of GoIndieNow and to do this as an indie author. I love being able to help other indie authors in my community. I think it's a great community, and I enjoy being a part of it. I feel like I have become a part of this amazing family. We help each other out. We don't tear one another down. That's what makes an indie community amazing. And just being able to be like, oh, you have a new book out? Oh, I'm going to read it and leave a review, because that's what you do. We help each other out. Now, I will admit, contemporary romance is not my main genre that I read, but I read it because K.B. Andrews is an awesome indie author, and I wanted to support her. And I'm glad I read it because the book was really good. You never know. So branch out, check out different genres. Don't be afraid. And if you don't particularly like the story because you're not into the genre, well, if you're going to leave a review, what I usually do is I look at how it's written. I think of the different things that make a good book, even if the story itself didn't particularly appeal to me personally. You know, right now, Effing Shattered's sitting at 76 reviews, and they're all 5-star reviews. And you know what? It deserves the 5-star reviews. I admit it, and I'm about to be number 77 as I leave a review on Amazon and Goodreads. I always do both. So again, it's Effing Shattered by K.B. Andrews, narrated by Sarah Puckett. Great book. I recommend it to, especially if you're into contemporary romance with a little bit of that comedic flair, which I think that was the reason I loved it the most. There was a lot of comedy in there, and it was just really fun. And I want to thank Joe Compton for allowing me to be a part of GoIndieNow and do this review. Have a great day.
I always thought I'd be some kind of artist. I was pretty lucky that my parents let me explore different avenues of art. Also the youngest of 3 kids, so my brothers had already gone through this, and we had a lot of art kits and instruments and stuff around the house. I used to love drawing a lot. I just wasn't very good at it. Painting, kind of same thing. I would watch a lot of horror movies with my brush on a canvas and kind of create pieces just based on my fear. Are they having a fight behind me? Yeah, wasn't very good at painting. I always wanted to learn magic and was never quite dexterous enough for it. Wasn't quite dexterous enough for the guitar either. I played piano and drums, got bored with that after a while. I danced my entire life, and I do still dance and enjoy it a lot, but not doing as much ballet, tap, and jazz as I did back then. I was in lots of choirs, award-winning choirs, and local musicals, and as much as I dreamt of being a singer, I just didn't work very hard at it. It was kind of the same thing with acting. I enjoyed acting, and I didn't try very hard at it. Directing or filmmaking. I loved doing all these things, but of every art I have tried, writing is the only one that I seem to consistently work really, really hard to improve. It's also grown with me and gone through different phases of my life with me. When I was in elementary school, I wrote short stories, a lot of horror short stories, tried a couple novels. When I got to middle school, it was all about songs, all about songwriting. And I would get mad when a song would come on the radio that kind of sounded a little bit like a song I had written. I'm like, they stole it. In high school, it was all about poetry and, of course, angsty poetry. And after that, it was everything. I wanted to do everything, all types of writing, all types of genres, characters, worlds. Maybe that's why I like writing so much, is because it allows me to master every art through characters. It allows me to live every life and really be free.
So you were a bit early in life by the acting and performing bug. What gave you pause in not pursuing that profession fully?
I honestly, I think I went to Frostburg for theater right out of high school, and I think I just got like really caught up in the social stuff and like hanging out with friends, and I did want to be a very academic person, do well in college. I was really excited to like go out on my own and experience new things. Unfortunately, a lot of the new things were like but so it didn't go the way I wanted it to, and I was just I think I was just like lazy. Theater is very difficult. I did some local stuff after high school. The last one I was in 2003, I believe, when I was 21, and like that one was really awesome. But yeah, it was hard work, and I honestly did not think I was gonna get cast in that show. So I think I did audition for something several years ago, and it was just the worst audition of my life. And I was like, maybe it's a sign. I don't think, and also I don't think I was very good. I don't. I love singing. I would love to. I like if I'm performing like a song, I would do that any day of the week. But like a monologue.
How much do you feel like those experiences helped you in becoming an author?
I mean a huge amount. I definitely, when I'm writing characters, I play the part. I do the dialogue aloud, and also to make it, make sure it sounds right and sounds realistic. But yeah, it definitely helps me get into character and develop characters a little bit better. Especially because when you're making a character, you can't put in everything about the character on the page, which is something I'm trying to get across to my writing students. Whoa.
You mentioned in your own bio that you have several projects going on at once. Give us an idea of how you manage that. Is it a system, controlled chaos? Do you like to fly by the seat of your pants? How do you think you pursue that?
Yeah, it's controlled chaos. It's it's complete madness going on in my head. I just kind of have the little project bubbles bouncing around in there, and I kind of just know which one is important. And I have reminders on my phone, and I have whiteboards all around me, so it's like if it's out of sight, it's out of mind for me. I need reminders constantly telling me that I'm never allowed to sleep or rest or stop ever.
Have you seen when an anthology comes out with your work? Have you seen an uptick in your novel sales from that? Is that something that you've experienced?
Yeah, definitely, especially with Garden of Fiends, which came out from Wicked Run. It has an excerpt from my novel, The Green Kangaroos, in it. So it's all horror addiction stories. So yeah, when people buy them, they read that beginning, they're like, oh, I'm going to go buy the whole novel. So that was definitely one with that. But I've seen ones, seen Rabbits in the Garden, which is one of the first real first horror releases. And that one always gets a little bump when Postmortem Press puts out an anthology with a story of mine in it. So yeah.
Having done the controlled chaos thing for a while, how would you say your process has evolved? Do you feel like you've kind of found your style through that process, or was it in spite of that?
Yeah, no, I think that just rolling with, just going with my gut and everything, that's what led me to eventually writing The Green Kangaroos, where I feel like I really honed in on my voice and my style. Because that novel is just so raw and honest, and I mean the subject matter of addiction was very close to me. The family dynamic is somewhat close to me, and I was basically like, when I'm from this point on, I just have to channel that same kind of raw honesty into every single character. I have to find that in each one.
What do you cherish about being indie?
Freedom. Yeah, just being not even having to cater to the market or the publisher's whims. I mean, you gotta listen to the publisher, but I love being able to just follow my heart, follow whatever weird place my brain takes me, and trust that I'm going to find someone out there who wants to buy
it. Did you ever think about just going traditional and sticking to that at any point?
No. I mean, but I came into indie and small press and that stuff all on my own. I didn't know anybody when I was looking to get published. I didn't know any writers. Which is crazy because like 90% of my Facebook feed is writers, or artists of some type. And I had nothing except my mom sending me like 3-year-old Writer's Digest, books full of publishers. And I would go through and highlight them and look online, emails and Duotrope as well. And just kind of Googled like, how to write query letter, all this kind of stuff. So just very much. And
your aim was always small press at that point then?
Yeah, I think I submitted, my first novel that got published, that I tried to get published, was an Arthurian legend novel called Camelot Lost. And so I did try submitting it to like a couple of big places, and no, that was just silly. And I was I think that book got, gosh, I don't even know, so many rejections, so many. And I don't even think half of the places read anything that I sent even. So
what's one thing you always do now in marketing your books that you found to be most effective?
Smiling. Yeah, being excited, being passionate, and like just showing people who I am. It's like I just like to have fun. I like to make art, and I hope that I like my artists and writers to look like they enjoy what they're doing. And yeah, I think that a lot of people end up reading my stuff because they, see me on something, or, they see a post of mine and they're like, well, she's okay. She seems weird. Let's see what this is about. Oh, a book about bee people. Excellent. Yeah, just being a positive person, but also being transparent enough to show when I'm not feeling so positive, just being human, I guess.
Do you do you think that's a very important thing for young authors is that they need to establish that they are people and that, you know, getting to know them as people is a better way than just blanketing people with marketing calls?
Oh yeah. I think so, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a balance between you know, too much and definitely you see a lot of younger authors coming up. It's like selfie, you know, like, and it's like you got to break it up. You got to do this and this. It can't all be just videos of your face with like a dog thing. Although those are nice too.
What do you think the benefits are of being a multi-genre author? Do you ever worry about alienating a fan base or not being able to build one because you are so diverse, or is it the opposite?
Yeah, I mean, by this point, it's, you know, if someone's like, I don't like you because you write this, I'd be like, okay, bye. Like, I don't know how I would even react to that. I just don't want to get bored.
Yeah.
I've written 2 series, and even though I was working on other projects while I was writing them, I still got so bored sometimes. And it's not because the story or the character's boring. It's just that I want to get out. Like, I want to explore. I want to, like, when I was writing the Darla Deckers, you know, that's pretty much the only thing I write that doesn't have like something wacky in it or, you know, scary and supernatural. So I kept just wanting to put like a robot dinosaur just like break into the school and eat them all. And I, you know, and I have so much fun once the book is done. I'm like, yay, I can't wait to write the next one. But like while I'm doing it, I'm like, so I just don't like getting bored. I want to play, you know. For me, I mean, this is work, it's a business, but I don't want to do it if it's not fun. And I want to like experience all of that stuff. And there's so many worlds I haven't even explored yet and people I haven't even met yet. So,
and being someone who juggles a lot of projects at once, and you mentioned how you found your voice through an emotional experience writing something, and you've kind of stuck to that. Is it hard to kind of do you have some way of, you know, because I can imagine that at times writing something so personal or having that connection is emotionally draining. So do you have a safe period where you can step back and kind of absorb that, or do you just kind of move on to the next thing? Or is it a matter of, you know what, I'm gonna write something light and fluffy to kind of counteract that?
I would like to say that I have an established like safe period. That would be really healthy. I should work on that.
Sorry.
No, I mean, honestly, I just take days off, which I think is a step from where I didn't. There were definitely years when days would go by where I would just write every single day, all day. So yeah, I just kind of move on to the next thing. I do get anxious if I don't do anything for a long time. I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, it feels so weird. So I usually try to play Candy Crush or something, or, you know. I should really, my husband got me the Professor Layton games. I need to get back into those to kind of as a break, but to keep the mind sharp.
Hello everyone, welcome to GoIndieNow Film Reviews with Jin Okubo. I'm Jin Okubo. Hello, nice to see you. And today I'm doing a film from Hyper Effects Independent Film Productions. This is created by Himesh Bargal Himesh Bargo, it's a Himesh Bargo film, and Himesh Bargo is the lead as well. And his portrayal and his emotional range is amazing. And you'll see a nice picture of him here. And on top of that, this film, I've been trying to get this film done for a while. And the reason why is because I wanted to do this specific film in tribute and thankful for Joe Compton at GoIndieNow, because he has given us such a unique way to reach out to people and to share our work and to build something where the indie community can come together at. The film is called A Beautiful Thing. I consider it a serial thriller, but he calls it a serial killer movie. And it has both aspects. And the way that it works is just an amazing flow between character points of view, and what I mean by character points of view, I don't mean her point of view or the victim's point of view or the lead's point of view. No, I mean by the mental point of view of the serial killer himself, from what's going through his mind, what's going through the actions, stuff like that. It provides a very, very great aspect to filmmaking. Now, this film, it does delve into something that might be touchy for some people, because serial killer movies and serial thrillers sometimes thread that line just a little bit too much into the bizarre or a little bit too much into the uniqueness. And I think it has to do with the fact that psychopaths and serial killers tend to be normal like us. And, they snap and they go do their thing, but they usually lead a very normal life. The person next door to you might be a serial killer. You don't know. You always hear those interviews. Oh, he was just a wonderful guy, and it never bothered me, right? So that's what makes it a little bit creepy in that sense. On top of that, I would like you to go ahead and take a little peek here.
Away from me, why can't you see? You always meant the world to me. So tell me why such a beautiful thing could ever die ever since you said go.
Although I had again lost everything I ever loved, I knew that I must have hope.
Welcome back. So I hope you enjoyed that little peek right there, and I hope you're going to check this out. All the links are going to be down below, and keep watching us here at GoIndieNow. And I want to say one more thank you to Joe for providing us this great platform. You guys have a good one now. This is Gino Kubo.
This is a test. Take notes. This will count as 3/4 of your final grade. That quote comes from a literary giant who we unfortunately lost earlier this week in Harlan Ellison. Harlan Ellison was for sure an indie spirit. And actually, if you go in through his catalog, you'll see that he self-published some things, and he also published a lot of things through smaller presses. And Harlan was such a prolific writer. He wrote 50 books, over 50 books actually, and a lot of screenplays and teleplays. In fact, he wrote one of the most famous episodes of Star Trek ever. He had that ideal of freedom and expression and just feeling like he could say and do what he wanted to do and do it his way. We have a great short film for you from an artist who is Spanish by descent, but is hanging out in Costa Rica. Wait till you see his intro video. It's gorgeous. Wherever he is, I want to be there right now. July is going to be jam-packed with a lot of great things that GoIndieNow is doing, and I really appreciate it. And as always, please like, subscribe, and comment. And hit that little notification bell, too. And that'll tell you when these videos do post, so you don't miss them on the day that they post. All right, everybody. As you know, it's always time to GoIndieNow, and we'll see you again very soon.
Yo soy Marco, el creador de Sempiterno Y ese vídeo lo hice en España, ahora mismo estoy en Costa Rica, y lo que quería mostrar era básicamente los valores que yo siento por la vida y cómo se supone que deberíamos vivirla.
You may be wondering, who am I to talk about happiness? The truth is, I'm nobody, but I can tell you my story. I knew there were other paths, different paths, roads less traveled. Despite the fear, I walked mine, a path of freedom. And to travel that path, I built this. It was a way for me to understand how those who are different from me feel. A way for me to know countless places. And to share those experiences with you. At 60 years old, I could tell you many stories, but I'm going to start with this one. It was a journey of 3 months. A van, she and I put 3 days and Pia, Mia, and Noah. I'm not telling you this story because it was the first wild journey of mine, but because this journey determined the direction of the rest of our lives. Together, we discovered that happiness is directly tied to our relationships, to our connection with nature, to the joy of loving animals who also want to be free, and to other people. Happiness is directly related to our ability to feel connected with the world. To live in the moment, to drink in every detail. And to enjoy the simple pleasures. Happiness is connected to our ability to feel free, to discover and to explore new places, to uncover the magic of countless places, to fill our lives with good people, and to share what we love with them. It made a mark upon the paper. Happiness is connected to that which makes us feel alive. It all comes and goes. It all comes and goes. All these words. Feel as though we are children again. And to appreciate the abundance we live in right now. It all comes and goes. She's gone. But I know that as long as I keep her alive in my memory, she'll be waiting for me in the next life.